Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar Lunch and Learn with e-commerce experts, hosted by Fresh Relevance, Cooksongold, BigCommerce and eCommerce Master Plan. We're going to be talking through a whole host of personalization techniques, tips and tricks. I'm Alistair, I'm a sales consultant here at Fresh Relevance, and I'm going to be talking through different personalizing cross-channels journeys that we set up here at Fresh Relevance and the strategies behind that. But it's not going to be just me talking today. We're going to have a whole host of experts speaking on different topics. So after I cover now at 1 o'clock creating personalized cross-channel customer journeys, we're going to have Jonathan, one of our clients from Cooksongold, and he's going to talk about how e-commerce empowers his team and how he uses personalization to improve website performance. After that, we're going to have Chloe from eCommerce Master Plan talk about how to drive online sales successfully in 2020 and 2021 and beyond. She's going to be giving some practical tips and the 3 things to look out for in terms of current trends and how you can be capitalizing on those. After that, we've got James from our partner BigCommerce talking a little bit about ways to increase e-commerce website speed and performance. And then finally, at 2 o'clock, we're going to be answering your questions and give you feedback on some different topics. In terms of submitting questions, hopefully you guys can see on the right-hand side, you've got a little popover with chat and questions and polls. Feel free that as we go through this today, just to jump in there, put in any of your questions, put in anything that you wanted to talk about, and we'll pick those up at the end when we do the Q&A to answer the questions that you guys have about presentations. So I'm going to kick off, and we're going to talk about creating personalized customer journeys and specifically what Fresh Relevance does in this realm. And how we can do this for you guys, and also the little bits of strategy that we make decisions around when setting up different personalized journeys for our customers. So the first thing I want to talk about is why we do this. And one of the biggest reasons is, competition in the market and how you want your brand to grow. One of the most common challenges that we're facing with nowadays is COVID-19 and the way that's changed the sort of retail and e-commerce environment, especially for marketing teams. Speaking to people every day, I'm hearing a whole host of new challenges that have appeared in the last year that we're helping our customers try address. One of the biggest things, the most common thing I hear every day is about resource, the fact that budgets have shrunk, team sizes have shrunk, maybe you have team members on furlough, and you're trying to compete, win market share, but your team is reduced in resource. So having something that can automate and personalize this experience for you without having to talk to each individual customers is one of the most important reasons that people take on personalization. One of the other core reasons is also market share. Through this pandemic, things like e-commerce platforms have skyrocketed. Everyone who traditionally had an offline business has realized that's not the place to go at this time and space, because people aren't shopping as much in stores. And while this has been a blessing for e-commerce managers seeing site traffic rocket, loads more sales online, it does mean that more competition has crept on. And staying ahead of the now more competitive markets that we have to deal with the reduced resource and budgets that we have is a big challenge for a lot of teams, and figuring out the way that they can actually move the needle in these times as well. What's actually going to deliver ROI in these challenging times has become a key topic. Beyond that, with all this stuff going away from offline and coming to online, we've still got a lot of customers accepting the same experience. They're expecting to be able to walk around, speak to members of staff, trawl through shelves and look to all the products, but obviously e-commerce and the online experience is slightly different. So making sure that we understand what challenges, what the expectations are when people come online and shop. If you're a business that has either started as offline or come online, or you've been an established e-commerce brand for years, but now you're having more competition come online, understanding what that expectation is, how you can deliver on that, and stay ahead of the competition so you're the person giving the flawless experience, has been one of the most common themes that I've heard over the last few months. So in terms of what this leads to, or why it's good to understand these things, we've gone out there and asked different people about their frustrations. One of the best ways to tackle a lot of these challenges around the experience is to do with real-time data. And here's just 3 stats to really talk about stock level related to that and some of the frustrations customers face. So 26% are frustrated when finding a product they like is sold out. I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually a little bit higher than that, but that's the feedback that we got. But obviously, if you guys are marketing products and they're not available, that becomes a frustration for customers. The same as with the 20% who are frustrated if there's not information around that availability. And also, if you're marketing to people or sending promotional emails and they're receiving these promotions and the stock is disappearing, yet another frustration of these customers. And understanding that this isn't an issue in store, but this is an issue online. This is an issue with dealing with stock, but also with COVID and things like delivery information updating in real time, travel information changing, just making sure that you have access to real-time data and that you can deal with these frustrations is part of how many e-commerce brands are going and getting ahead of their competition, and something you need to be aware of in terms of those frustrations people shop you on your website and how you can adapt. So in terms of how we tackle this real-time data challenge, there's a few different ways that we break it out to in Fresh Relevance. The first one, probably the most important one to do with all of this, is the machine learning piece. I'm sure if I sat down with every single e-commerce manager or marketing manager and we looked at each individual session on a website, we could figure out exactly how to market to each person, but we do not have the time to do that every single day. So you need a robot brain, you need this machine learning piece that's going to figure out how to market to all of these customers in real time for you, so you can input it some logic and it can go ahead and do that work ahead of time and automate that process. Massively important, if your team is struggling with resource, not having to make every single segment under the sun, not having to analyze every segment, but actually having something do that for you is a large part of why people bring on Fresh Relevance, but also other personalization platforms as well. The second piece is, once you've got that big robot brain or machine learning figure all that out, just making sure you've got the content tools to actually do something with all that clever stuff. It's no use if that machine learning can't make any HTML or turn something into an email. So just making sure that you have the content tools to change banners, change websites, change your navigation, change email campaigns, automate emails, create popovers is important, just to make sure that you haven't just got this big pool of data that does nothing, that you can actually action it into marketing content. Testing optimization is a really cool bit of this as well. We're quite lucky that we're in a time now that where we have machine learning, it can run hundreds of these tests, it can do multivariate testing, it can test all the little ideas and concepts that you wanted to in real time. And just making sure that with all the different machine learning you're doing and all the different content you've got, you're experimenting with, you're testing all of this content as well to start to increase that conversion rate by 1, 2, maybe all the way up to 5%, just by trying new things and comparing them to one another to see what works best for different segments. And then finally, just making sure this works across all your different channels. It's no good having the world's best personalized email campaign if then when they have to go onto the website to convert, the experience is terrible, or you're treated as the top buyer in an email campaign and then you're back on the website and you're treated as a new buyer there, and that experience is completely different. So just making sure that you connect into email, mobile, social media, web. These are, again, all things that Fresh Relevance does, but just making sure that your strategy aligns with that is going to be key to success of personalization. Having a little bit more of a look at that success or the integrations into other systems and making sure that your personalization strategy does work across other channels. This is something Fresh Relevance is really focused on, and a big pitfall, I think, for a lot of other strategies around personalization, where you'll have the world's greatest email personalization strategy, but it'll be missing a load of web data. It won't be able to bring that experience back onto the website or, again, remarket to people in social media. So we've made a real big effort to integrate with loads of other systems. Here are just some of the partners that we integrate with. A load of email service providers, as you can see here, to provide that email personalization strategy. E-commerce platforms such as BigCommerce, who we have today, to collect data from the site, but also personalize the website in real time based on those experiences. Data that we could collect from ratings and reviews providers, and then obviously taking all of the data from those 3 channels and pushing it into retargeting ads on things like social media as well, is a large part of how Fresh Relevance has built their platform, their strategy, but really what you guys should look into as well if you want to have a personalization strategy that's working to the most effective it could be. Also, alongside all the different systems you need to plug into, data is a really key part of making sure personalization is effective. The number one we probably recommend you look into is browsing data, or what I would like to call intention data. So what are they intending on doing? What are they intending on buying? And making sure that has different layers to it as well, that it's not just a case of going, Alistair came to the website and he browsed trousers. The fact that you can understand that I browse trousers and I browse shoes and I browse shirts, but actually out of all of those, I browse trousers more than any of the other categories. And therefore, if you're going to let me leave the website with one message today, it's about the category I browse the most. And just that type of browsing data, but also overlaid with machine learning, is really critical in having an effective strategy. Looking at abandoned cart data can really let you know where your drop-off is. If you're losing customers at a certain point, that's really useful to know. What content a customer has consumed. This is probably the most overlooked out of all the different bits of data in having an effective personalization strategy. And this really ties into the cross-channel piece. If you're sending someone a browse or cart abandonment email with alternative suggestions, so I've come to the website today, I wanted to buy some trousers, and then you want to remarket to me some more trousers, there's no point showing me recommendations that you've shown me 5 times on the website. If you're making an alternative suggestion, I've already seen it 4 or 5 times already, the effectiveness in your email personalization strategy is just going to be completely hampered. Vice versa, if you've been marketing the same product to me all week on email, there's no point showing it to me a 7th or 8th times on the website. So just like Fresh Relevance can do, making sure that you understand what you've been marketing to people on other channels and what content they've already consumed, and then keeping it fresh is a really important way to keep the effectiveness of personalization really high. Understanding what people have searched for, so what people have been looking at on Google Ads, and then when they come to the website, personalizing that. So if I Googled red jeans, which would be a terrible fashion mistake, but that in itself, it doesn't matter. You'd want to personalize on the fact that I searched for that choice. And make sure that the website is immediately personalized to the fact you've looked at that from a Google ad, and therefore that's what you want to sell someone on the website immediately. Visitor frequency, so how often they come to the site, and then finally transactional data, what has been successful, what have you converted people on, and therefore how you should market to people in the future as well. We work with over 500 brands to do this. You'll recognize some of the brands on the screen, but there's a range of industries here. But really, where we talk about these customer examples that I'm going to in just a second, this is where we get this experience from. There's a whole host of different strategies and ways you could do personalization, but really from the wealth of our clients and the wealth of industries that we work with, this is how we've developed these different strategies. So I wanted to just talk through some customer examples. The first one I wanted to have a look at was Killstar, which is a project I worked on. They're really smashing it at the moment, so I definitely recommend you check out their websites and what they're doing. They only got set up with us this year, but they've already seen some incredible results. You can see this female and male homepage where they've completely personalized it based on the gender you looked at. And why this is important is it's not so much about showing the gender that you are, but just removing the content I'm not interested with. So if I'm going to come to your website and if I can immediately see content that I am going to buy, or you've removed the gender that I'm not going to buy from, if I'm not going to buy from a specific gender, it just optimizes the whole website. It increases the chance that they are going to continue browsing, that they're going to find a product that they want to buy, and therefore increase conversion rates of sales as well. Not specific to Killstar, but our average uplift in total online sales sits at around 8 to 10% from website personalization. So making sure that you've got an effective strategy here can really be a core part of the business if you can get this right. Looking at another brand that does this, Country Attire, they have some more subtle techniques around this. One of the most important being geo-targeting personalization, and just understanding that if you've got different promotions for different locations that you're highlighting that. So you can see here in the UK, they've got free delivery over £30. In the US, it's a slightly different offer, making sure that they're showing that relevant information at the forefront, because they're going to be competing with competitors. And if they're showing these promotions as well, but you're showing the ones that are on location, the chances are that your browser is not going to see that if it's not the right one for their country, and therefore they're not going to convert with you, they're going to look at competitors. So just making sure that that's relevant, not only what they've browsed, but also their location as well. Same for delivery time information, is going to stop that frustration of when people browse your website and keep them shopping with you rather than going elsewhere. This has also been really important for Canopy and Stars. They do sort of staycations in the UK, or they have these amazing places that you can go stay locally. Coronavirus has massively changed their business, and making sure that they use geo-targeting, location-based personalization in real time to keep people up to date with real-time coronavirus information is one of the ways that they're staying ahead of their competition. So when you travel within your country, you've got the relevant information that you need to know. You feel safe that you can convert with these guys rather than the competitors who don't present this information. Another nice example or core of a lot of people's personalization strategies is personalized recommendations. We've got a really nice example here from Pure Collection. This is a little video going through their site, and you can see that when we get down to the recommendations at the bottom, you can actually select different sizes on the different widgets. So you can select your size for the type of product that you'd want to see, or the type of clothing that you'd like to see. You could even, if you wanted to, not the Pure Collection do, but you could show different models if you wanted to show different sizes per product. And again, you can see it's got rid of all the other sizes. And if you just want to see content within that size, you can do that as well, and we can personalize that going forward. Product detail page, a really important area for you to market other products. And we use 2 different examples here. So we have a crowdsourced recommendation type from Molton Brown, showing what everyone on the website is enjoying, but also specifically what that customer has browsed, what they might be interested in, and personalized choices of products that we've selected for that customer to create the highest opportunity for them to convert on the website. Popularity messaging, creating that fear of missing out, has been really important for a series of different brands as well. We've got Glasses Direct here, who show how many people have browsed a frame today, but also they sometimes combine this with stock data. So they'll show like how many people have viewed this product against the fact that a product is low in stock, to really create that hype around the product and make you commit to buying earlier, which obviously increases conversions on their site as well. And then exposing product reviews in the right place. We do a whole host of this with our different review providers. There's a really nice case study on our website from an electronics provider who did an A/B test of including reviews in browser abandonment emails against not doing it. And in the A/B test, the browser abandonment emails that had those reviews saw a 60% increase in average order value versus the ones that didn't. So making sure that you've got product level reviews in your email marketing campaigns can be a really quick win that you guys can roll out across your campaigns. And then finally, looking at this cart page, we've got a couple of different dynamic blocks here. This one is showing how much more you need to spend to get half price off express delivery and how much time with a real-time countdown timer that you have to action that point. And then knowing how much money that they need to spend, we've been able to create 2 recommendation blocks with products that they can add to their cart from either alternative products that are more expensive or that they could also buy, or relevant accessories to this shoe like socks that can help build out that cart value, which helps them capitalize on the half price express delivery, but also helps you build out your average order value. And then I wanted to talk about just the ways that we can show different content as well. So here we've realized that this customer is quite close to converting. So what we've done is we've shown the different payment methods available. This has seen some really surprising results. We've really seen conversion rates increase by 0.5 point or a whole point just by showing payment information at the right time. So make sure that you guys are doing that as well. So just to recap on everything we discussed today, real-time data, reducing those frustrations around stock, delivery and coronavirus information is really important to have a successful e-commerce strategy. Showing relevant content, so making sure that you're marketing to me with the genders, categories or product information that I care about and not showing me unrelevant content or stuff that's out of stock. Creating that smooth experience, just making sure that everything works in real time and everything works across channel as well. So I'm getting that unified experience and making sure that this is actually making you the money you need to test, try all these different strategies, try all these different bits of content, and you'll have a very successful strategy overall when you finally look at the results. That's pretty much it for me. Just wanted to highlight our new normal festive shopping report about all the trends we've already started to find out heading into Black Friday and Christmas that you guys should definitely roll out in your marketing strategies. Grab that on the front of our website. And now I'm going to pass over to John from Cooksongold, who's going to talk a little bit about how he works with Fresh Relevance and the personalization strategy there.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Okay, I'm just going to share my presentation with you all. Okay, so I'm here from Cooksongold, and I'm going to talk to you briefly about how we use Fresh Relevance to empower our marketing team and to improve our website performance. My name's John. I've been with the company for about 5 years now, and in that time I've managed a number of third-party integration projects, including integrating with marketplaces, rebuilding our on-site search, and of course developing our use of the Fresh Relevance platform. So a little bit about Cooksongold. They've been around in some capacity in Birmingham's jewellery quarter for around about 100 years now. They're one of the top suppliers to the jewellery trade, as well as the growing jewellery hobbyist market. We stock around about 19,000 products, including precious metals like gold and silver, sheet and wire, jewellery chain and findings, gemstones, jewellery making tools, going all the way through to things like jewellery boxes, gift boxes and hobbyist products such as silver clay, metal stamping tools and more, things like that. We've got 2 stores in Birmingham and Hatton Garden in London, but our primary focus is our multi-channel sales website, as well as a .com website. We've also translated this site into German, Spanish and Italian, and we focus predominantly into those countries as well. So we've been using Fresh Relevance for quite a number of years now. Initially, it was used to provide our automated browse and basket abandonment emails. However, over the last 5 years, with the growth that Fresh Relevance has seen as a tool, it's aligned with a number of our own challenges. The main one being, we've got a reasonably sized marketing team. However, we do struggle to get IT time. We've got quite a small internal IT team, and their focus will have to be on ensuring that our data feeds are running correctly, and that our websites are secure and safe for our visitors. Unfortunately, that does mean we do sometimes struggle to get things built to push the websites forward from a marketing point of view. This has got harder considering we have 4 websites now, that have been translated, so it's a much bigger challenge than it used to be. On top of that, we're also promoting a vast product range. With 19,000 products you're trying to market, that's immediately difficult. However, we've also got quite a fractured customer base. We sell from everything from independent jewelers on websites like Etsy and Amazon Homemade. We've also got larger multi-store retailers through to people like hobbyists who are just starting out in the jewelry industry, even to customers who are after one particular product. They might just be after, say, a replacement chain, or they just need a gift box. So getting the right product and the right marketing message in front of the right customer has never been harder. On top of that, you've also got an export customer base that's around about 15 to 20% of our sales. So again, you often need to push a different message to them, a different offer, and that's another challenge. And finally, when I first started at the company, the data that we were providing to Fresh Relevance was quite limited. We were missing basic data such as sale prices, lower level product categories, product ratings. All these things that were missing meant that it was very limited in what we could actually do with the software. So what did we do? Well, we started with the product data, and I can't stress that it's very, very important to get the right product data in place. It is the starting point. So immediately we do a bit of a mix of sending data to Fresh Relevance in a feed. That's now including things like sale pricing. We include things like product ratings, unique selling points of the products in bullet point form. We send over a stock level, and we send over lower level category data. So as well as knowing something is a wire or a jewelry tool, we now know what range it sits in, what the alloy of the product is, whether you can get multi-buy discounts on the product. We've added all this category data in, and it allows us to do a lot more. So from there, we first of all looked at our product detail page, our PDP. So our aim here was we wanted to increase the conversion rate of clicks to add to basket. To do that, we looked at best practice, and we began to A/B test a number of blocks across the page over the course of around about 6 to 12 months. So in the end, we found out what worked, what designs worked, and we went live with a new PDP that included discount blocks, it included percentage offs above the fold, it included social awareness blocks, so how many people were looking at the products at that time. We included brand logos where it was appropriate. That was all automated by Fresh Relevance. The brand logo just gives a bit more security to the page. We included whether the product offered free delivery, provided how much you were going to spend. And then further down the page, we began to offer things like recommendation blocks that we could A/B test with different rules, and also recently browsed over products. So we added a lot of things to our PDP to try and increase that add to basket conversion rate. From there, we took our learnings from the PDP and started looking at our category landing pages. So here's a few examples that we've done over the last 12 months. We started to push our discount spots onto the landing pages. We started to promote on clearance products where the product was almost gone or the stock level was low, as Alistair pointed out, just to try and increase that conversion in click-throughs. We looked at trying to offer related adverts to the product range the customer was in, so ancillary products. We offer silver solder, so we started to look at trying to promote the tools that the customer might want. We also promote free delivery messaging across the site now. And finally, we had a wealth of content information on our blog, but we didn't really share it very well. So again, as well as promoting other products, where appropriate, we started to push blog links across the website as well. And also we started to push free delivery messaging reviews onto the category landing pages. These were all things we A/B tested again over a period of time, trying to identify what works. And it's something we can continue to test over the next few years. And all this actually led us back to where we started, which was the browse and basket abandonment emails. These have, as the website's improved, also improved. So the same information has been pushed into this as well. So we've started to show discount spots, how much the customer would save when products are on sale. we've started to include free delivery messaging that's specific to the country the customer is in. We have different free delivery offers for different countries, so we can start pushing that data right back into our original basket abandonment emails. And the results of this, we first of all started to look at how many events were taking place on site that involved Fresh Relevance, and we saw that year on year between 2020 and 2019, we saw an increase in sessions where a Fresh Relevance block was interacted with, an increase of 112%. And looking at the add to basket clicks on those product pages, we increased that 17% year on year. Looking at our abandonment emails, we saw a 13% year on year increase in sales that we could attribute to those emails that were going out to the customers. And we do love the abandonment emails because the conversion rate on them has always been really good, but it's something that we've managed to increase over time to 13.4%, and that's versus an approximate 5% conversion rate from emails. So looking in a little bit into the future, we continue to want to push more user-specific content as we go into 2021. And each year we've gained in confidence in what we can do with Fresh Relevance. And obviously they bring more tools on board that can allow us to do more. In fact, in the next few weeks, we're about to go live with a new homepage. And part of this new homepage, we've managed to build, using the tools that we have available, a fantastic bespoke customer account module. It identifies their name, it says what time of day it was, it says good morning or good evening, depending on what time of day it was. We can push information in here on their recent order, we can push what their current basket is, or we can present products they've recently looked at so they can easily return to those products. On top of that, we've also started to look at what categories the customer is looking at across the site. And again, we're starting to use our wealth of blog content, our wealth of video content, and trying to get that directly to the customer as soon as they land on the homepage. And the best thing about this was, with very little IT involvement, we managed to get this built in just 3 days. And also we've started to use the Fresh Relevance Experiences module that they've given us this year. So even at a most basic level, we've started to try to present the right offer to the right customer at the right time. We started off by looking at what country the customer is in, and also making sure that we're presenting to them the relevant free delivery offer with the relevant price points in there. But going beyond that, we've started to look at how can we differentiate new customers. We can offer them different welcome offers and present that instead of the standard free delivery offer. And that's something we're going to test in the next few months. Thank you very much for listening. There's some contact details for me, and I'm now going to hand you over to Chloe Thomas of eCommerce Masterplan.
Thanks, John, and hello, everybody. Great to be here with you, and 2 awesome sessions already. I've made a ridiculous amount of notes here, so I'm sure you all have too. But what I'm going to take you through is how to drive online sales successfully as we go into what's left of 2020, 2021, and then, of course, beyond. So my focus is, these days, it's on helping people solve their e-commerce and marketing problems. I started in this industry almost 20 years ago now, working for an omnichannel retailer. Yes, there were a few of those around way back in the 2000s even. And then I worked as a head of e-commerce for a number of mail order brands, ran a marketing agency for 10 years. And now most of what I do is write and speak. So on the left-hand side, you've got my latest book, bestseller both in the UK and the US. And if my voice is sounding familiar, it's probably because you've heard one of my podcasts. So there's the eCommerce Masterplan podcast, which has been going for over 5 years now. It's award-winning. It ranks really high on Apple. It's amazing, and mainly because my guests are so great. Because each week I interview a different retailer, and then the newbie is Keep Optimizing, which is my podcast, which launched this year, where we focus on a different marketing method each month. And right now it's all about social media, but we've covered advertising, email, and lots of other things. So I'm going to take, as we go through this, I'm going to take inspiration and ideas from all the many podcast interviews I've done, the many people I've spoken to this year, this crazy year that we've been experiencing, And what I want to do is I want to take you through 3 key ways in which 3 kind of core concepts you can use to drive those online sales more successfully as we go through these changing times. Now, this should be quite familiar to all of you as what e-commerce has done this year. What we've done this year is we've been a bit of a rocket ship as an industry. Online sales have gone through the roof. They've gone huge. But whilst that's been great as all those consumers have started purchasing online, for some businesses haven't seen the sales uplift of others. So, and to be honest, even for those who've seen the big sales impacts, it's still been a bit of a rocky ride. So I prefer to think of what we've been experiencing this year as a bit of a roller coaster. You know, the customers want to buy online. Brilliant, but they don't want to buy from all of us. You know, garden's gone up, fashion's gone down a bit. The retail, like, you know, the high street obviously has seen those customers leave. And then even if your sales are up, you've got the problems of getting the stock to the customers. The courier system has been under stress all year, as we know. So there's a lot of challenges going along, and it's very topsy-turvy. Lockdowns start, lockdowns end, different regions are doing different things, and that's really changing consumer behavior and changing how we can go about servicing our customers and looking after our customers. So what I want to do is to give you, as I said, these 3 core things that you can do to drive online sales successfully in 2020, 2021, and beyond. And these 3, as I said, they've come from all the many reports I've read, the people I've been talking to this year, the things I've been seeing retailers do. So, and I've tried to distill them down into things which are going to help you, whether your sales have tumbled, whether your sales are on the up, whether you've got loads of problems, not many problems. I think these 3 will really give you those core foundations which are going to help you get through the coming years and months, because I think one thing we can probably all agree on is that it's going to continue being a bit weird for a bit while longer in terms of how consumers are behaving and how we're having to operate our businesses, with people working from home and courier issues and all the rest that you guys out there are dealing with right now. So the first thing I wanted to start with is platforms. So for me, the businesses I've seen really winning this year in e-commerce and in other areas are those who have the platforms in place which have enabled them to adapt fast. That means, of course, having the right tech in place. Your systems talk to each other. We have had Alistair talking a bit about that already today. We've had John talking about how they had to get all that data together to enable their systems to do what they could for them. And I know that James is going to be going into, in the next bit, is going to be going into a lot of practical advice on how to go about getting your tech systems to work together. So I'm going to kind of skip over that bit and just give you 2 quick pieces of advice. One is integrations are your friend. And as is the cloud. So you need to be able to turn things on quickly, bring things in quickly, make changes quickly. And I guess for a cheeky third one, to reiterate what John was saying about how you as marketers need to be a little bit released from any restrictions there are within your IT teams, and getting the right platforms in place can make things a lot easier for the marketers. But like I said, James is going to run through this in a lot of detail in the next session. So I'm going to skip on to the more offline platform issues. Now in front of you, you can see a lot of boxes, because of course part of our platform of our business is our stock, and if we know where that stock is, how we get that stock out to customers. So making sure you've got the right suppliers and the right relationships with those suppliers, both the ones who are sending you that product to sell and the ones who are getting that product out. I think any business in retail right now who doesn't have backup courier systems and backup suppliers in place, you are not setting yourself up for success. It's the sort of thing you need to have out there ready to roll. So as if the fluctuations happen, you're able to reduce orders, increase orders, switch suppliers, do whatever you need to do to keep your business going. The other side of this for me is the team. I think often we kind of overlook the impact that all of this can have on our team and the training and the skills our team need to enable us to keep moving, to keep shifting, to keep changing, and to be this adaptable. So I think there's an element of making sure your team have the resources they need. Are they able to work comfortably from home at the most simple stage? Do they have the desk? Do they have the telephony, the computer equipment, the internet services, etc., to enable them to still do a great job? Are you putting up the infrastructure in place to enable your team to still work together in the most easy way? And are you giving them the training This year, it's much harder for people to get out, to go to conferences where they'd be picking up information, to go to training courses. A lot of that stuff happens online. So just because they're still in the office, as it were, they're still at their desk, make sure they've got the time and the resources to still be able to do that training, because we're really in a fast evolving space at the moment. And it's something which, you need to make sure you've got the right team in place and that you're enabling your team to do what they can. Of course, not all of our teams sit in head office. If you are a retailer, you have a lot of people out there in the world at your stores. So one of the things with your software platforms is if you've got them in place so as you can enable your store staff to help out the rest of your team, maybe you've got perfect stock information so you can dispatch from stores, you can take returns into stores. Maybe you can even send your live chat to your stores or phone calls to your stores. So as your team out in the stores is still very much feeling connected to this wider vision of your business. So that's my first, is getting your platform in place. So as you've got everything you need, you've got your team, you've got your supplier base, you've got your tech and anything else that's fundamental to the running of your business, you've got it set up and ready. So as when you need to make a shift, when the consumers go over there or they go over here, you're ready to adapt and to change. So that's my first of my 3 tips. Get your platforms in order, because that is really going to separate the winners from the losers over the coming months. Okay, what's number 2? Number 2 is summed up quite nicely by this quote from Ian Leslie, who's the CMO of Industry West, who are a business over in the States who sell furniture and home decor. And they have kind of 2 businesses, one went up, one went down. But the quote is the thing I really want us to focus on. And he said this when he came on the podcast to talk to me about how they were dealing with all the impacts of the pandemic and lockdowns. Before, if we weren't hitting ROAS on Monday, we'd see how it went for a couple of days before tweaking anything. Now, if it's not working in the morning, we're tweaking by lunchtime. Now, I suspect a lot of you have had this same experience. The reports that you would normally look at monthly, you're now looking at weekly. The things you would look at once a week, you're now looking at daily. And then the things you normally look at daily, you're looking at all the time. That creates a huge amount of additional workload in terms of the reporting and in terms of taking action on those reports. It's a real acceleration of how we work, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. So 2 parts to this second tip for you. One is your reporting. That's what this kind of zoomed in abacus looks like. You're going to be doing reporting more frequently. You should be doing reporting more frequently. And that means you need to take the workload out of the reporting. Time spent compiling reports is nowhere near as useful as the time spent analysing them and making decisions. So you need to squeeze the time it takes to make the reports. And there's 2 key ways to do that. One is to automate it. So tools like Google's free Data Studio, they just auto-populate with your results. They're really quick and easy to learn. I've been through this with a couple of people this year. Really quick to put in place. And then you can just create these dashboards that automatically update. So your time to create the report, you do it once now and you'll never have to do it again. So that's a great way of time saving. The other thing is to really be brutal about what you need in those reports. Strip it down, reduce the numbers you're looking at, reduce the stats you're looking at, just to the core ones that tell you, is everything okay or is there a problem? Because I think what we're going to do, what we're already finding is that week to week, the problems are different. So what we really need to see is there a problem that I can go off and investigate? Not here's everything I could possibly want in one place. It's about identifying where's my problem. Oh, I've got a problem with Google ads this week. Brilliant. I'll go and look at the Google ads. Or I've got a problem with SEO. Let's go and look at SEO. Not I've got a problem with SEO. Let's turn to page 12 where every SEO stat in the sun, under the sun has already been gathered, because that's a waste of time if it's a week where you should be focusing on Google ads. So that's the first one. Streamline and be brutal with what reporting you're actually doing. And then, of course, make sure you look at it too. The second side of this is to have what I call a levers plan. So this is a plan of all the pieces of activity you will do if something happens that you have to react to. So if suddenly your sales drop by 30% and you've got to increase them, your levers plan will have a here's the things which we could do. If sales jump by 30% and you don't have the stock to fulfill it, here's another plan for what you're going to turn off. Now, this is something which I think you should be refreshing at least once a quarter. It's probably only going to be 1 or 2 sides of A4, so fairly bullet pointy and to the point, but it shouldn't be as basic as do more email or do less Google ads. You want to go a little bit more in depth in there. So it might be when, for example, with Facebook ads, we will leave on remarketing, turn off prospecting, or it might be double budget for prospecting. A little bit more detail in terms of what you would do if you need to suddenly increase or you need to suddenly decrease, because in the thick of the moment, we don't always make the best decisions. And to be able to go, here's my plan for lifting, here's my plan for reducing, really great. And of course, it might well stray outside the world of marketing. It may go to what are we going to do in the warehouse? What are we going to do with suppliers and so forth? So those are my 2 tips around getting kind of your foundational elements in place. So first of all, get that platform right. That includes your people, your supplier base, your offline activity, your online activity, the whole of that piece. The second one is to have one of those levers planned. So you're forearmed with what you're going to do if you need to make a big shift in performance for the business. My third one then is how you can really accelerate your performance, how you can take things to another level. So those first 2 are about basically being part of the game, being in the game. What I want to do now is tell you how you can really take it up a level. And that is something which we've talked about a lot over the last few years, but I've really seen businesses doing and taking to another level this year. I don't know whether it's because for those businesses who've had great sales, they have much to do in marketing, so they've gone and spent more time on social and on content, or whether it's because those businesses who've had their marketing budget slashed have had to spend more time looking after the customer. But it is my third point, is really build the human connection with your customer. Now, there's a lot you can do. We've already heard about the impact Alistair was saying of adding social proof to the abandoned basket emails increased AOV 60%. That's an element of building a more human connection with your customer. We had Alistair again giving that trousers example he was telling us about. Another great example of making sure you're doing the right things to the right customer at the right time. And we all know about social proof. We all know about the personalization we can do and so forth. All of that is a great thing to do, but with my limited time today, I wanted to really drill down into one area of this, which I think is criminally neglected in the world of e-commerce. And I think that's partly because as people in e-commerce, we like to kind of hide behind the website. And this really does involve you getting out in front and talking to those customers. So this is a quote from the amazing Mary Portas, I'm sure you've all heard of. And one of the things she's been talking about is that consumers are now looking for status stories, not status symbols. So to illustrate this, we all have that friend who, when farmers markets are allowed, go to the farmers market, buy some sausages, and then they tell us over the course of about 2 hours about how amazing these sausages are because of where they bought them, how the herbs were selected, the story of the grandmother's recipe, the farmer they met who actually bred the pigs and how the pigs are slaughtered and the whole thing. Because that's what we now take pride in, is the story of the things we're choosing to buy. So the status story is not the status symbols. Now, in an online environment, you can't be the farmer behind the trestle tables selling the sausages to the customer and telling them that story. So you have to do it in other ways. And the best person, because you can really take the story to another level. If you follow the example of this guy, he's JJ Resnick. He has built 3 7-figure turnover businesses purely based on getting the story right. You can hear him talk about all that on the e-commerce mastermind podcast, but he breaks it down into 3 parts: the problem, the solution to the problem, and then success. So I wanted to quickly give you one example, and then I'll wrap up and remind you of the 3. So this is my favorite About Us page in the world. It's Farm Toys Online, and in it, they run through the problem, the solution to the problem, the success. So the problem is exactly what Julia down there at the bottom experienced, which is she had the kids love farm toys. Buying farm toys was a nightmare because you have to get the one that fits with the tractor, and they like horses and they like this. It really resonates with the core target customer. To solve the problem, Julia started the business, thus solving every other mother's farm toy buying problems. And then the success is social proof around how great the business is, etc. I probably would add some social proof, some happy customer quotes in here, but you get the idea. This is something any business can do. And once you've nailed it on the About Us page, it's then time to add it to welcome campaigns, to add it to post-purchase sequences, to add it to your homepage, to make sure customers know who you are, why you're in existence for them and the problems you can help them solve. Really, really powerful if you put it in front of them, because it will build that human connection. And that does include pictures of your team, stories about your team, so people really get that link with you, because if they feel like they're buying from a human they know, like, and trust, they are so much more likely to come back again. Okay, so how to drive online sales successfully in 2020, 2021 and beyond. The two foundational pieces I took you through: one, robust and adaptable platforms. That's team, suppliers, tech, etc. Is it ready to make it really easy for you to adapt and change? Secondly, to have a levers plan, which is also, you need that streamlined reporting, but the levers plan, so as when you're like in the thick of it, you know you need to up sales, you've got that list of things you need to do that you've already looked at, that you know will work, that will help you make that change. And then thirdly, please share your story. Consumers, us human beings, we really want to have connections with people at the moment, because so many methods of connecting have been removed. So consumers will really respond if you start building that personal connection with them. That's my section. Now we are going to have James from BigCommerce.
Thank you, Chloe. That was a fantastic presentation. It's going to be a difficult one to follow, but last but not least, hopefully, I'm just going to share my screen now. Share screen. And we're going to do this. So, just want to present myself. My name is James Brown. I'm one of the senior account executives at BigCommerce in the UK, based out of London. And my role with BigCommerce is obviously to help our business understand the needs of the customers that are coming to us and asking about our e-commerce platform, help them understand how BigCommerce could potentially address those needs, and if we can find a common ground, work together to come to an agreement and to really try and start to build a partnership as to how we can do work together in the future. In terms of BigCommerce as a business, I mean, many of you will have heard of us. We are sort of opening now for about 2 years in the UK. So we're making a bit more of a name for ourselves more recently, but we have been around for a bit more than 10 years in total. We do have offices all over the world. And we are kind of now probably in excess of 800 employees, because we're growing very fast at this point in time. Exciting for us as a business, we actually listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange back in August of this year. The important outcome of that, I think, for businesses, certainly in this geography, in Europe in general, is that unlocks a lot of resource for us to go out and, on one hand, improve the BigCommerce platform to have the capabilities that businesses working in a more complex environment of Europe and the Middle East need, but also to really invest in the partnerships that we have in place in the marketplace. And I'm going to talk a lot about partnerships, because I think a big part of e-commerce success is going to be based around the partnerships that that are between yourselves as merchants and the businesses you're working with, but also between the businesses themselves in your ecosystem. And just briefly, just to talk about BigCommerce and how we position ourselves in the marketplace, we are, a kind of up-and-coming provider. We're 6th in the world today in terms of size of the e-commerce business that we transact on our platform, and we've been recognised by a lot of the analysts in the market as being really a market leader in a lot of segments. And also, importantly, not only are the analysts, but it's the users of our platform that rate us as a top-rated platform. So it's important to understand, I suppose, what sits behind those kind of things, and allows us to really deliver some of the best results for customers. But what I'm going to do, instead of go any more into what BigCommerce does, I think what we're here to do is talk about what is it that's going to make a difference to a business over the coming 2 or 3 years, and what is the choice of e-commerce platform and how you use it. What part does that play in that future success? And I think a lot of the guys we've spoken to already evoked some good points on that. What I want to do is, first of all, is look at some of the trends in technology that we see in the e-commerce marketplace, and also, in fact, it's kind of prevalent across a lot of business software. So the first is that what we call monolithic. So these are old-style platforms which tended to be very heavy, usually very fully featured, but quite difficult to put in place and maintain, and very costly in a lot of ways. Now that's kind of, I suppose, the old guard of the e-commerce software that you'd be able to see on the market from some of the biggest names in the market who are still around today, of course. But that market is moving more towards a focus on modular solutions. So, just comparing the pictures of a switchboard versus an iPhone with all the different apps that you can use. I mean, I think that the key message here is, how does a business go out and acquire the specific tools it needs to address its customers in its niche with the capabilities and the resources it has today, and continue to improve and adapt that over time so that it is able to keep up with changes in the marketplace and keep up with the increased potential in resources it has as it grows to become more and more effective. So trying to build a solution, going away from what was a one-size-fits-all, monolithic, expensive, perhaps highly functional, but very complex system, towards a much more modular, choosing the bricks and actually deciding on how you want to put that together. If you look at the investment that goes into these two different approaches, so I mean, when I talk about investment, I'm talking about money. Money is money. Time is also money, and energy is money, and the energy of your organization to go ahead and actually conduct these type of projects. In terms of the technology projects, are often very complex and time consuming and difficult for businesses. So any investment you put into these type of projects is very important. Now, of that investment, historically on a monolithic or an on-premise solution, there would have been a large amount of resources and time and money spent on, obviously, first of all, getting the platform itself, putting it in place, continuing to maintain that in terms of patches and upgrades. You would have often had to go to a separate supplier in terms of hosting and maintenance, so paying someone else to, maintain and ensure that your hosting is up and running and is secure, that you've got the compliance in terms of PCI and everything in place. There would often be another layer, a separate organization again, who would actually be doing application support for you. So this may have been an agency or an integration partner that's built the platform for you and put it in place. And it's important to note that those three different layers, again, often provided by different partners in your ecosystem, which means there's a complexity of the relationships, it's less efficient. And in terms of just the cost, you've got more margins to feed as part of what you're delivering. As well, another aspect that's important here is that because you're going in and customizing the actual core code of the platform, you are in fact having to support, or they are having to support, thousands or even tens of thousands of different versions of the code, because essentially every one of their customers using that platform is using a unique code version, and therefore that all that support, the upgrades, the maintenance, the patching has to be done tens of thousands of times. So that has an inherently large cost, which then of course leaves not a lot of time, money, resource, and energy left for developing your unique and fantastic customer experience, and on all the kind of front-end revenue-generating activities such as customer acquisition, creating new offers to go to market, releasing new ranges of products, etc. If you flip that on its head, and we're moving towards the modular world, and particularly, quite importantly, the SaaS world, because really it's in SaaS software that this modular kind of promise really comes to its fore. What happens here is that, first of all, based on a SaaS platform, you're actually going to be addressing one single vendor for all levels of that kind of platform support, the maintenance, and the application support. That means, of course, that not only are you having less relationships and there's less complexity in keeping your technology running, also that responsibility for that end-to-end technology being available and working properly and being high performance is actually only with one vendor. So you've only got one person to go to when things aren't working perfectly. But also, again, because they're all going to be sharing, all the customers of that vendor are going to be sharing the same base of code, you're only actually going to have to support one version of code. The hosting is done on behalf of tens of thousands of merchants at the same time. And therefore, that cost base for each individual merchant is minuscule compared to what it would have been in your old traditional platforms. The key here is that that is going to unlock, obviously, far more resource for being able to develop a unique customer experience, and change that and evolve that over time, and also focus on what your front-end revenue-generating activities might be. And again, those could be anything from the acquisition of customers, developing new offers, or indeed looking at what else you can do, which other markets and channels you can address, how you can improve the personalization of your online experience and your offline experience as well, and really develop on exposing your brand and your business to a much greater audience, and working out how to convert them. So if we look at that's really high level, what are the trends that are happening in the marketplace? So if we're just going to drill down a little bit more into what are some of the areas where at BigCommerce we see business should be focusing when they're looking at either choosing or evolving their e-commerce technology that they have today. So the first main point is build for growth. So we've seen a lot of growth this year. It's been a bit of a wild ride. We don't know what the next few years have in store, but I think the one thing that we can all be in agreement with, though it may not be as fast a jump as we've seen this year, coming years are going to continue to see growth in e-commerce and continue to see a transition from traditional bricks and mortar offline commerce to more online. So what I think is important here is to say when growth is going to come from the capabilities that you have in technology, but it's also basically going to come from how quickly you can get ideas in motion, how quickly you can adapt to changes in the marketplace, and how you can understand your customers. So if we have a look at, for example, yes, you want to search for robust, feature-rich technologies that are able to deliver a lot of things out of the box, but you also want to make sure you're choosing platforms and technologies that are simple to use, easy to adopt. As you grow, as your business grows, you'll be potentially employing larger and larger teams. You don't want to have an overhead of training those teams on complex software and complex systems. You want to obviously research and deploy a best of breed type architecture. So again, that modular architecture, searching out the various different bricks that make up the different parts of that. And those that are on one hand, the best that you can essentially pay for, obviously based on whatever resources you have available to you, but also that are best adapted to exactly how you do business and how you want to engage with your customers. So there's a lot of choice out there, and there's a proliferation of different tools that can be around things like personalization, as you see with Fresh Relevance, or indeed payments, or indeed email marketing. We even saw some of those logos on earlier slides. And all of these tools have their merit and their position in the marketplace, and it's important to understand how you want to actually deliver this to your customers. And then, because we don't know what's going to happen next, and we don't know what the next channel is going to be through which we're going to be communicating with our customers and potentially selling to them. And I've seen, in fact, an article today talking about WhatsApp now setting up sort of transactional communications with customers directly through the WhatsApp platform. It's a new channel for us. What you want to be able to do is ensure that the technology you're engaging with is open, has an architecture and a philosophy that allows you to get access to data, to understand what your customers are doing, be able to interrogate that data in real time and take action on it. And of course, then potentially integrate that system with new tools and channels as they become available in the marketplace as quick as you can, quicker than your competitors, ideally, so that you're essentially ticking that box for that kind of future, the unknown state of what's going to be the next big thing in 12, 24, 36 months time. You know that if the platforms you're using support an integration-led approach, then you're able to meet them when they come up. Second one is obviously designing for performance. Obviously, performance is very important. It's only become more and more important as you go forward. Performance is obviously about page load time and how quickly people can interact with your solution, but it's also about understanding that the solution is available and is up, has a high uptime rating, and it's important as you go through busy sale periods and times when your customer engagement and the conversion rate is highest. So I think we think you should be aiming to work with vendors who are able to guarantee those uptimes, and uptimes greater than 99.5%, or hopefully even more like 99.9%. Choosing hosting providers that can accompany you both locally and globally. So as you expand, you don't know where that expansion is going to come from, and we all are aware that as markets globalize across the world, it's going to be easier and easier for us to do business internationally. How can the vendors we're using work with us to achieve that? And how can they do that seamlessly and rapidly without us having to intervene and ask, can we open a new data center in Germany? Then can we open a new data center in Singapore, for example? But actually just being able to use the technology they provide and just literally go ahead and address any market that becomes available as an opportunity arises. And then finally, question around performance is, of course, around security, compliance, and all those issues which are often big time sinks for merchants and take a lot of time for you to manage. So what you want to do is be able to hand off to your vendors anything to do with security, or as much as possible to do with security. Of course, some things are unavoidable. Anything around PCI compliance, all the questions of regulations and laws around data storage and security, which are constantly changing and are becoming obviously more and more important as we go forward with GDPR and the like. It's important that you're engaging with vendors who are able to accompany you and guarantee the protections that are required, so that you don't have to keep running around and making sure that things are important as you grow. And as you grow, of course, you're going to become more of a target and more visible to the regulators and to potentially cyber attackers. And you want to be sure that your vendors are able to support you on that growth. And finally, it's important to look at how you can lower your total cost of ownership, or at least control your total cost of ownership. So first of all, you need to understand what your full cost model is. How does your cost model scale with you in relation to your growth? So your cost model is going to be based on obviously the license fees and the hosting and all the other bits that come along with purchasing your technology. Any extensions you might have had to build because certain features weren't available out of the box, etc. You need to also understand how it relates not just to any normal growth, but hyper growth. If you have an opportunity as a business over a short period of time to grow very rapidly, would your technology be able to support that, or indeed would the cost model that you have with your suppliers work with you to make that even feasible? Leverage the extensive experience and expertise that your vendors have themselves. So your vendors obviously experts in the field of e-commerce. How can they play into your online business and provide information and ideas and momentum that can actually help you grow even faster? Often you'll find that there's a lot of pent-up knowledge and experience in these organizations, and that is usually more accessible and potentially cheaper to get and get better bang for your buck than you would be by speaking to consultants or agencies. This is generally because, of course, your vendors you're already paying them a license fee and they're happy to do whatever they can to help you. So don't forget that as a source of information ideas. And finally, work with your vendor. Take advantage of the partnerships they have in the marketplace. How can you get them to help you negotiate better payment rates, shipping rates, better license fees and agreements with other vendors that you might want to engage with in the marketplace? I mean, your vendors is there as part of a whole big ecosystem, and it's all very interconnected and interdependent. So take advantage of that as a merchant, understand what your power is, and deliver on that. Some of the things that I want to talk about, I think modernizing your merchandising is something that the guys at Fresh Relevance are absolutely experts at. And I think we just want to reiterate this. I mean, it's all about making sure that you're moving fast, you're making changes faster, simplifying the path to purchase, personalizing the buying experience. I've already looked at that and leveraging the machine learning, making sure not only that you're delivering content that is specifically directed at certain sectors of your market, but that your whole entire buying experience is absolutely seamless and highly adapted to the way your customers want to do business. So this could mean customizing away from a standard cart and checkout flow. This could mean implementing, sort of other business models like subscription. Think about all the different options that you have as a merchant. Also creating a unified shopping experience when we're talking about the different channels that you're able to sell through. I think we're talking obviously before about how you can sell through Amazon and eBay. And I just mentioned, of course, WhatsApp as a new channel that's just appeared on our radar literally in the last 24 hours. What is the way that you're going to address those channels? What is your strategy in regards to how you're going to sell and what sort of product range and pricing you're going to put out to those channels? And just importantly, the technology you're using, how does it connect and how will it connect, again, like I said before, to those channels which are going to appear in the future, so that you're able to address things and be where your customers are before your competitors are. In terms of the kind of the services I asked them, and how can you actually go into and tap into the expertise of all the different experts within the vendors, work with the vendors in terms of how they can help you implement your project, work with the vendors in terms of their technical expertise and understand how you can deliver certain complex ideas and deliver against certain challenges in the best way based on the platform that they're giving to you, and continue that relationship as after you've launched, and share with them the strategy and the objectives you have as a business, because there are so many things that they can do through their network and through their partnerships and just generally the knowledge they have internally to continue growing your business with you. And finally, I mean, again, I mentioned it before about that ecosystem. Tap into the ecosystem, understand where you can get the best value, and identify and work with the people you're currently working with to identify what is the best overall solution for you. So there's a lot of things to cover there. I mean, that's kind of comes to the end of my presentation now. I think, shall I hand back to the guys at Fresh Relevance to wrap up?
No, James, if everyone wants to come back on video, because we've got a couple of questions for everyone to do. She says, failing to turn her own video on. So James, if you could unshare those slides. Oh, there we go. Hello, guys. How are we all doing?
Very good. Very good.
Full notepads of ideas as a result of that?
Absolutely.
I certainly have. If you could see my desk, there's literally pieces of A4 with different ideas on it all over the place. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left to do a few questions. And John, I wanted to come to you first, because it sounds like you've been on an amazing journey with getting all that personalization in on the website. But I was curious about why it was you decided to start with the product page, when I think a lot of people would assume you'd start with the home page, because that's like the doorway, I suppose.
To be honest, it came down to where we were as a business at that point. The home page was probably in better shape than the product page was a few years ago. The website itself hadn't been updated for a number of years, and it had all been done in one go. So at that point, we just had to look at each page and decide which one we could improve the most. The home page was functional and it was pretty good, whereas the product page, we knew we could probably get more benefit out of improving that and adding more advertising via Fresh Relevance onto that page. And that was the reasoning, really. We just looked at each page and also did a bit of research from analytics as well. Looked at which pages were visited. Obviously, the product page, more time is spent on that. People are browsing more of those pages. We just felt, in terms of how much benefit we would get, product page far outweighed any other page on the site.
I like that approach, because I think often people get a new tool and they just go a bit crazy with it, rather than going, what's the biggest problem this tool can solve? Which it's so obvious, but I think sometimes we get excited by our shiny new toy. So I had one other quick question for you, John, which was, you mentioned about that amazing data project you did, because of course a tool, especially like Fresh Relevance, it's only as good as the data you're putting into it. And I'm assuming you launched and then upgraded the data, or did you wait until you had all the data in place before you launched?
We waited until we had the data in place. The data was just lacking at the point where we wanted to update the page to, and looking at what we could do with the data we had, there just wasn't enough we could do with it. So the data came first, then we launched. And to be honest, there's still data we could now add in, even to this day. You're always adding more and more information about the products on, and that's still not in Fresh Relevance or still not in our other third-party tools. So we're still wanting to progress the data project. It's something that's always going to be ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back at the time, data, we always went lead with the data and then work out what we can do with it.
So you got those kind of basic must-haves in place, and then
absolutely, yeah,
we'll wait and see what it wants us to have.
Yes.
Excellent, makes a lot of sense. I'm sure we've helped a couple of people there. Now, James, I'm trying to. I have so many questions written down here for you guys. Okay, James, you were talking about various things that we should have, or retailers should have, or I should have when I'm looking for new software. Different things I might want to focus on as where, if you're writing down that list of the things it must have, what are the key criteria? And I thought you were kind of suggesting there were 3 different things we should have at the top, which might be current integrations, the future-proofing element, and then maybe what they can take off your plate, like they can worry about PCI for you. Is that what you think should be at the top of our list when we're looking for new software, or is there something we're missing here?
No, I think that's a very good summary, Claire. I know there's a lot of things I covered, and that was some very good takeaways. So I think just to really break those down, the current integrations, I think why this is important is that we want speed to market, right? If we're a business and we're in the process of considering a change of e-commerce platform, what we want to be able to do is whatever we're going to launch, if we decide it's the right tool, we want it to be launched as quick as humanly possible. And if we've got, the platform we're going to has an integration with a large range of different options in all the different sectors of those kind of partnerships where it could be, as I said, payments and personalization and marketing and loyalty, or all the kind of different sections there, sectors. So the idea is to be able to say, well, are we able to choose the perfect solution that we want? Is that pre-integrated? Is it all basically just one click here, one click here, one click here, and off we go? And that's a question of speed to market. And it's not just speed to market, it's also once we've launched, as we evolve, as things change, how quickly can we change? So it's that agility of the customer experience. We're delivering the end-to-end customer experience by, a platform and all the other bits that add on to it. And how do we keep agile and keep changing that and evolving that? The future proofing is clear. It's super important because the future is becoming more, and so it's arriving quicker than it ever has been, right? It's moving faster, and channels are multiplying, ideas are multiplying, customers' behavior is changing at light speed. So there are those integrations which are in place today, which you can say, well, I'll be able to move to this other provider if I need to in the future as I grow. But what about the things that we don't even know yet? So does the platform provide you the ability to, will it provide you the ability to be first to market with this brand new technology idea that's going to appear in, August next year, which we haven't even heard of yet? So that's really important. And then, the last point, based on what a platform can take off your hands. I mean, PCR compliance is huge. Generally, the hosting and the maintenance and the upgrade stuff is a huge amount of money that is spent. And obviously, if the provider's taking that off your hands, there's going to be a price to pay for that. But because of the nature of a SaaS software solution, the price you pay will be, substantially lower for a substantially higher amount of, free time, energy, ability to actually get on with dealing with the issues of customer acquisition, of bringing better offers to market, and accelerating in front of your competitors.
And one other very quick question for you, because I've got questions for Alistair too. But at the end, you showed that that marvelous slide with the best of breed ecosystems and all those logos, which I doubt I'm the only person who screen grabbed that as it came up on screen to save for later. Is there, and you also mentioned about the WhatsApp payment that's brand new as of kind of today. Is there a new trend you're seeing in people wanting to integrate with their websites that you're surprised about? Is sudden, because normally we're talking integrating the CRM and the ESP, or we're talking about the personalization. Is there anything odd that everyone out there, or new, I should say, not odd, new, that everyone out there should be thinking, oh, that might get me ahead of the pack?
Yeah, I think your mention of WhatsApp is the right one. It's about social, and I know we're going to admit here that we're behind the 8 ball, actually, to be honest, because WeChat has been doing this for years, right? Everyone talks about it; they're miles ahead of us. But for us in the Western world, it's something which is kind of coming at us very fast now. Businesses have really built strong teams that engage their customers on social media and have been doing that for years now. And those teams, you can say even just those teams themselves are hungry to monetize that and to be sort of saying converting those those great customer feelings and the great customer relationships they're creating into sales. And the platforms themselves realize that, and they are heavily integrating. I mean, we released full one-click integration to checkout on Instagram back in mid to late summer last year, and as well as Facebook Shops. And so that was released as beta then. It was released fully during summer this year. Now this, unfortunately, like WhatsApp, is only available in the US at the moment, or in Canada as well. But that's not BigCommerce, that's Facebook themselves testing that market out. But let's be honest, the day they switch it on here in Europe, it's available on BigCommerce. It's
the pro and con of not being in the US, isn't it? It's like, at least you're on a platform that's already built it, and the US got to test all the bugs, and we'll just get it when it's ready. So we don't get to move first, but at least when we're with a business who's already doing the integration for us, when it comes, we can just go for it. Right. My last question then to Alistair. Alistair, you shared a lot of very, very cool things that we can do with our personalization. Where do we start? For a business who's done none of this and they're going, oh my God, they're in the chocolate box, a bit like we were talking about with John a minute or two ago. Where would you advise people to start when they first open that awesome box of personalization potential?
Do you mean like what functionality or like?
Yeah,
what-
because you were talking about abandoned baskets and home pages and what this person's already looked at and what everyone's already looked at and integrating with the email and ads. And
I think for us, or what I'd suggest, if you're working with Fresh Relevance, is I'd probably just go in with product recs day one, just because obviously I use Fresh Relevance, so I'm maybe a bit more of an expert, but I could really set it up in a few minutes and add to 5 to 10% sales on your website. It's literally that easy if you could just get me in. And that's maybe Jonathan's experienced that as well from our reporting. Just he's obviously done a lot more advanced strategies too. But when I scope projects like I did with Killstar, and I bring people on board and I look at their website 2 weeks later, and the first thing we did was product recommendations, and the difference in the bottom line, it's crazy from something so simple, because we've pre-made so much of the AI and the product data already. So I'd probably start with recommendations as something that is very rewarding in terms of ROI. Like, there's a lot of money to be made, but also the biggest challenges that I hear from marketers is resource, really easy to do as well. You don't have to plan all your different segments because the AI is going to do that for you. So yeah, Rex is where I'd start.
love it. Easy and massive impact. What more could we have asked for in your answer there? So thank you, Alistair. Thank you, all three of you, John, James, Alistair. You've been amazing with your presentations and also with your giving us lots of great insight for this session. You're going to get the replay of this so you can watch again and share with your team, of course. If there's something one of us has said which you're like, oh my God, XYZ needs to see this, send them the replay and get them to have a read of it, a watch of it. Not a read, Chloe, it's a webinar. To have a watch of it as well. And then you can, of course, talk about it later. Thank you to everyone who's been involved today and for Fresh Relevance for putting this on. And that's goodbye from all of us.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Thanks,
Bye.
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 Bye.